Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Sheriff's Office Southern Precinct. I'm Eric Roby, Director of Legislative and Community Affairs for the Harford County Sheriff's Office and also representing Sheriff Gahler's Hope for Harford Task Force. 9 months ago, Harford County Sheriff Jeff Gahler brought together 16 Harford County residents who are government officials, business leaders, and citizens to form the Heroin Overdose Prevention Effort workgroup. The sheriff tasked our group with examining the heroin epidemic and developing strategies to educate the public, reduce the dependency on heroin, and develop ways to cut off the supplies into our neighborhoods. It's absolutely evident that we are incurring such an immense social cost from heroin and opiate epidemic that's plagued our community. Too many new crimes committed as a result of the drug dependency, too many families that have been torn apart, and too many lives that have been lost to this indiscriminate killer. I'd like to introduce to you the Sheriff of Harford County, Jeff Gahler, who's been recognized throughout the state of Maryland as a leader in the fight against heroin. This morning, he'll be discussing Harford County's Fight Back Against Heroin legislative package that he's partnering with Delegate Szeliga and Delegate Cassilly to introduce during the 2016 session.
And as we know from around the state, but particularly here in Harford County, heroin continues to be a danger to everyone in our community. An example of this was just 2 weeks ago on Halloween night. We responded, Sheriff's Office deputies responded to the mother with 2 young children in her car who had overdosed and ran off the road and struck a telephone pole. Thankfully, no one was lost in that incident, but it's just one more example of how impactful heroin is hitting us across the state and here in Harford County. This year alone, we have lost, so far to date, we've lost 175 people. 175 people have overdosed on heroin in Harford County. On average, that's about 1 overdose every 48 hours. Of those 176, 23 lives have been lost. More lives, we're running on pace to lose more lives to heroin overdoses than to homicides and traffic accidents. Another area, traffic accidents are greatly impacting us and are up from where we'd like to see them. And again, impaired drivers behind the wheel are part of that. In Harford County, we've made eradicating heroin our #1 priority. 9 months ago, as you heard from Eric, I formed the HOPE work group, the Heroin Overdose Prevention Effort work group, comprised of 16 citizens from a diverse backgrounds here in the county. I'm pleased to have several of them join us here today for this press conference. Through the work group, we want to better educate our citizens on the threat posed by heroin, and along with the assistance provided from County Executive Barry Glassman's administration and through the great work of Mr. Joe Ryan, the Director of Office of Drug Control Policy, our HOPE group has helped us readdress how to deal with some of the issues here in Harford County. As Sheriff, I changed our protocol on our response to every overdose that's reported. As you get 175 so far this year. Anyone that's reported either to the police or to the 911 center, a drug investigator is now tasked with responding, not to arrest the person who is the victim of the overdose, and I do look at these individuals as victims, but instead to identify those who are contributing, who are selling heroin in our community. As a result of the recommendations from the HOPE work group, today I'm proud to partner with Delegate Szeliga and Delegate Andrew Cassilly to put forth a package of bills. We need these additional tools to investigate, track down, and prosecute these heinous heroin dealers and stem the tide of heroin into Harford County. These 3 legislative initiatives will allow law enforcement to receive real-time information from our medical providers, giving law enforcement the data necessary to better track overdose victims and area of concentration where they are occurring. Another is that they will provide increased penalties to individuals who prey on people seeking treatment at clinics and other first care facilities and attempt to sell heroin in these zones. The bill will establish a 1,000-foot buffer where individuals trying to sell heroin and other additional drugs will receive additional punishment for preying on those at their time of greatest weakness. And we're calling for a change in overdose procedures, response procedures in Maryland. After seeing far too many heroin victims, we have 23, I believe it's 23 saves so far with Narcan deputies and the other law enforcement agencies here in the county administering Narcan. But what we have seen is after the first dose, there is a tendency now where it seems there's a growing number who are in need of a second dose. So because of that, we're asking that any time Narcan is administered, that medical personnel be notified to respond to the scene to ensure the safety, the continued safety of the overdose victim. And again, I'm pleased to partner with the delegates and introduce the legislation that will push back the scourge of heroin and the impact that is taken on far too many families here in Harford County.
I'm Delegate Szeliga. I can't be more proud of what Sheriff Gahler and the men and women of law enforcement are doing in Harford County to fight this heroin epidemic. It is a great partnership between the county, the state, and law enforcement to save the lives of young men and women who are every day being faced with horrible outcomes of heroin. I'm grateful for the leadership and glad to see that Harper County will indeed be a model for the rest of the state to follow.
I'm Delegate Cassilly. Really to move forward effectively to address the issues, the multiple issues that the heroin epidemic is causing and ravishing our county, we need to actively move forward on three fronts: education, enforcement, and treatment. This piece of legislation is designed to provide some level of protection for those addicts who are in their weakest and most vulnerable when they're at the treatment centers. It's also designed to give law enforcement one more tool and many tools that they will need to effectively address the drug issue. I'm proud to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, at this time we will be bringing across to you a rendering of a sign that will be displayed out here in front of the southern precinct and as well as the northern precinct, which will be showcasing heroin abuse in our community.
You want to move it in and wait to uncover it? As you heard from Delegate Cassilly, part of this effort is prevention. And I think it's where as a society we need to concentrate. We know enforcement and treatment are parts of the battle, but the big part is also education. And far too many times I travel around and we give our talks to different members of the Harford County community, and I'm shocked, even with 175 overdoses and 23 lives lost, about the number of people who don't know. They're not following it in the newspaper, not following it through different sources, but who still haven't learned how impactful this heroin epidemic has become here in Harford County and again across our state. I think too many places want to treat the heroin epidemic as a dirty little secret, something we want to hide from and pretend is not occurring. Through my work group, through the HOPE effort, through some of the members here in the room and the rest of the work group, we came up with the concept of we own the problem here and we're trying to do something about it. And through education and through owning the problem, we want to inform the public as they pass our precincts. This is a model for the sign that will go both here at the southern, right outside the side building here along Route 40, and then we'll do one up at the northern precinct along State Route 23, and hopefully one in Bel Air additionally, and again to inform the public of the continuing growth of heroin and the lives lost. If you would, Sandy and Pastor Craig.